Here with senior Josiah McAllister to preview the 2019 indoor track season here at Concordia. I thought first maybe we'd take a quick look back at last season, the indoor and outdoor seasons. I know with the men's track program, you had a lot of seniors from that previous year that were kind of heavy hitters on that team, and some had been national champions. In what ways did it maybe excite you to kind of step into a role where now you're looked upon as one of those top upperclassmen?
Yeah, so I guess like you said, we kind of had a really big senior class as far as points scored and some great leaders in that class, really all across the board, from field events to running to throws. We really had it all. And so yeah, as soon as that class graduated, it I guess presented the opportunity and I guess forced the opportunity for some of us others to step up, and we've seen that in Cornelio, Corn Cob stepping up on the thrower side, and some field event people stepping up too, especially with some of our incoming freshmen last year like Cody Williams. And so just kind of across the board, we kind of had to have people step up and start leading, because that leadership kind of was gone then.
Well, you went back out for cross-country season this fall. In what ways is that going to be beneficial for you now as you look to track and field?
Yeah, I guess the main thing is just training-wise, and that's kind of what I anticipated going in, was just training. Cross-country really helps, and it correlates to the 800 and the 1,000 and the mile and all those kind of races that I run. And I guess it also just helped a lot with team unity. So I got to know a lot more of the freshmen on an in-depth level, and so really built that bond so that come indoor track time, even if I don't see them as much as they're running different races, I still know that like we have that relationship, we have that bond, and so come conference time, we're still going to be cheering for each other and we're still going to be rooting.
Mm-hmm. Like I guess we've already seen the distance team pay some dividends for track with two qualifying for nationals in the marathon the other day, but I know as a team, the men's cross country made some advancements forward this fall. How do you expect that distance group to kind of carry that over and build upon that in track season?
Yeah, and it's always tough for indoor track because coming off cross country, you have to kind of get your legs under you, and it's a lot shorter races, so it sometimes doesn't always suit everyone. But I think with the team that we have, we're definitely built to score a lot more at conference in those distance events than we have in the past. So that's one thing that we're looking forward to, especially with some of those freshmen and underclassmen. Now they've got a year under their belt or a season under their belt, so they're kind of ready to go and ready to get after it.
I was going to say, there were a lot of freshmen last season. I know there's a fairly big group coming in this year too. Just knowing what it was like for you as a freshman, what can you say about kind of that jump you could make and some of them might make from going to sophomore year?
Mm-hmm. I guess the main thing I would say is to make sure your body's getting enough rest, and then to kind of take advantage of it, because a lot of people, at least for myself, I was a 3-sport athlete in high school, so my track season was very short, so I wasn't used to training all year, so I wasn't really sure how to do that, and sometimes you just push your body a little bit too much because you're not used to taking days off in high school because your season was so short. But now with pretty much year-round training, you have to kind of know when to give your body some rest, and then to just take advantage of every season you have, because when you come in as a freshman, it seems like you've got forever because you've got 3 more years after that, but then those seasons kind of go away quickly. So taking advantage of that as soon as you can is really big.
You had the opportunity to compete at the national championships indoor and outdoor last year. What do you take away from those experiences that maybe makes you stronger right now?
Yeah, I guess when you go to a national championship, it almost seems like, wow, you're surrounded by all these great athletes, which you are, but also you got to realize that you're there for a reason and you're there to compete, and it's because you're on the same level as all these people. So I don't know, the key is kind of to not get overwhelmed, and that's the biggest thing, even as we took a couple people for the first time last year to indoor and outdoor, is to kind of settle them down and make them realize that yes, it feels like a big deal, but also you're here for a reason, and it's because you made it, and you can run and you can throw and you can jump and you can compete with all these athletes.
Well, mentioning just to mention a couple of those guys who were freshmen last year that made an impact for the men, Blake Betcher and Cody Williams were two that were national qualifiers, and Cody was even an All-American indoor. How can you put into perspective how impressive that is as a freshman and what it means for their futures?
Yeah, and especially because the multis is something that you usually count on a couple years. You got to learn into it because there's so many events, especially for someone who Cody came in with some high jump and a little bit of hurdle experience. But you think about pole vault and throws, like he had a lot to learn yet, and so I don't know that anyone expected that. And same thing from Blake, but yeah, it truly was amazing that they could get all of those events down in that short of a frame and to excel at that level. That was awesome. And so yeah, just going forward as they practice their technique and clearly grow as athletes, definitely something to look forward to see how they can compete on a national level.
Well, in terms of the teams conference and national finishes last year, I know they weren't where maybe the program's been in recent years. How do you feel about where things are progressing and maybe trying to move back towards that level again?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would definitely say we're making steps in the right direction. Like you said, last year was not necessarily where we had wanted it to be, especially just a couple years prior winning nationals. So definitely steps in the right direction, and I would anticipate this year we'd do better at conference, and you'd hope better at nationals than with that. And I know on the girls' side and the guys' side, I guess we're both returning a lot of point scorers, so that's kind of the hope, is that you keep improving each year and then get to a point where you can make a run at the championships, whether that's conference or even nationals.
Well, it's still really early, obviously, and you haven't, as we record this, haven't had the blue-white meet yet. That's coming up, but and maybe sometimes you don't always know exactly how the other event groupings are doing, but what are maybe some things that have caught your eye outside of areas that maybe you're normally focused on that you feel like are positives going into this season?
Yeah, I think we've got a really good group of sprinter freshmen. That's kind of an area where we've struggled in the past, just recruiting wise. And so this year they've got a great class of sprinters, and even in practice you can tell that they run well and they're really up to the task. And so that's one thing that I know that we're all looking forward to, is kind of having that sprinting speed. And then I guess, yeah, clearly you know that I can see in my group where our potential is. And I think throws also, they had a lot of young people last year, and from what I've heard or from what I can tell, they've kind of developed well, and they're looking forward to the opportunity to get out there and compete. So that's kind of what I would say. And clearly with our field events, we've got a great coach in Coach Ernie, and so you know that he's putting in work, and now with a couple years under his belt and a couple years to train with these people, you just got to expect great things at the conference and national levels.
What kind of goals have you set for yourself and your team specifically as you look to indoor season now?
Mm-hmm. I guess as a team overall, we'd like to be in the top 2 at conference. I mean, that's our goal every year, and then to see if we can get in a position to win conference. And so that's definitely the goal. And then I guess on the national stage would just be to score significantly more points as a team. I know we didn't score too many last year, and so to kind of up that ante to the place where we're getting in the top 10, top 5 kind of range. Personally, myself, I guess it would be to be an All-American, and I guess hopefully in a few different events, whether that's a 4x8 or a distance medley relay or an open 1,000 or something like that. That would be the goal throughout indoors, to be in that All-American, that top range of athletes.
Well, lastly, a little bit off topic, but I know your dad had a history with Concordia too, was an offensive coordinator and worked at Concordia with the football program. What did you know about Concordia growing up, and why was this place an attractive college option for you?
Yeah, I guess it was kind of a place of familiarity. I knew some people here, and I kind of knew the campus a little bit, and then once I visited, it felt like home. I mean, and I think you get that from a lot of people, whether they've been here before, whether they haven't. Just the community here at Concordia is very much one that is very friendly and feels at home and is very welcoming, and I got that same feel. And I guess just with the connections with my dad, I already knew people, and I don't know, it just seemed like a great place to be and a great place to excel, both academically and athletically.